Welcome to Omacy, a quiet corner where gardens are allowed to breathe, exhale, and simply be. Today we're exploring the Wabi-Sabi way, a way of seeing that honors weathered edges, humble materials, and the poetry of time. Instead of chasing flawless symmetry or showroom polish, we'll invite moss to wander, wood to silver, and stone to soften under rain. This journey isn't about building a perfect garden. It's about recognizing the beauty that is already present and coaxing it forward with gentle hands. You'll hear practical ideas, simple design moves, and small rituals that open space for calm. We'll talk about asymmetry that feels balanced, emptiness that feels full, and textures that ground the body as much as they soothe the eye. Think of this episode as a slow walk at dusk, where every step reveals one more patient detail. You'll learn how to choose materials that age with dignity and how to place them so they welcome stillness rather than demand attention. You'll see how negative space guides the path and how plants chosen for movement can turn wind into music. Along the way, we will let chance collaborate, trusting fallen leaves, hairline cracks, and soft shadows to finish what we begin. If this spirit resonates, please subscribe, like this video, and share your reflections in the comments so we can learn from your stories. Settle in, breathe out, and let's begin creating a calm wabi-sabi garden with rustic soul. Wabi-sabi begins with acceptance, a gentle bow to transience, and an appreciation for things incomplete. In practice, that means choosing materials and arrangements that welcome weather, settle into the site, and feel truer with each passing season. Instead of fighting irregularity, we invite it, placing stepping stones that vary slightly in size and spacing so the feet slow down and the mind follows. We allow the fence to gray naturally, the clay pot to soften with mineral blooms, and the path to collect fine gravel that crunches quietly underfoot. Balance is still important, but it is the balance of a branch leaning into open air rather than a ruler's grid. Canso, or simplicity, guides our editing hand, removing what shouts so that what whispers can be heard. Fukinsei, or asymmetry, lets a single stone hold the weight of a composition, while a low shrub offsets an expanse of raked gravel. Shurzen, or naturalness, keeps interventions light, helping human choices disappear behind the logic of place. Yugen, the subtle and the hinted, reminds us that a partially hidden view can feel deeper than a panorama. Emptiness, the concept of Ma, gives every element room to breathe, so the garden carries silence like a vessel carries water. Imperfection under Wabi-Sabi is not a flaw but a story, and your role is more curator than controller. When you accept weather, time, and chance as co-designers, serenity arrives without force and stays without asking. Textural calm begins with materials that invite touch and release tension before words even form. Weathered stone steadies the step and anchors compositions, its varied grain catching dew and starlight in ways polished surfaces cannot. Choose stones with rounded edges, subtle lichens, and colors that echo local earth. Let them sink slightly into the soil as though they were always here. A bench of unfinished cedar or reclaimed oak asks for patience, silvering to a quiet gray that pairs elegantly with greens and shadows. Short timber rounds can edge a bed loosely, each piece a slightly different height, so the line breathes rather than marches. Clay adds warmth and porous life. From hand-thrown vessels to simple terracotta pipes repurposed as planters, their rims softened by years and seasons. Even small chips and hairline cracks are invitations to look longer, a map of experiences written on the surface. As you compose, allow these materials to touch lightly, stone meeting wood at a corner, clay sitting proud on crushed gravel, and air interrupting the handshake, so everything feels unforced. Keep finishes matte, so light diffuses gently, avoiding glare that pulls attention away from sound and scent. Arrange objects in conversational clusters, with one anchor, one companion, and one space left intentionally empty so the group never feels crowded. When rain arrives, let water show the palette, darkening stone, deepening wood, and making clay glow like embers. Over years, the garden will polish itself through use, and the textures you chose will become a soft chorus rather than a solo. Serenity grows from plants that move with wind, accept shade, and thrive on restraint. Moss is the softest hush, spreading across stone and soil where moisture lingers, turning quiet corners into small sanctuaries. Encourage it by lowering foot traffic, maintaining even moisture, and allowing filtered light to guide its shape rather than forcing a carpet. Grasses add breath to the composition, their blades catching light and swaying in phrases that the ear can almost hear. Choose varieties that suit your climate and soil, from tufted forms that anchor edges to taller plumes that write soft lines against the sky. Native ferns, ground covers, and small shrubs knit structure beneath the grasses, bringing resilience and a sense of place. Keep flowers restrained to seasonal notes, a handful of blooms that feel like punctuation rather than a chorus. Plant in drifts that blur individual edges, allowing one species to flow into another like watercolor. Layer heights so the eye can rest, low moss at the front, mid grasses behind, and a taller evergreen or deciduous shrub as a calm backdrop. Prune lightly and rarely, guiding rather than sculpting, so growth patterns remain legible and the garden's hand stays invisible. Mulch with fine gravel or leaf mold that disappears into the composition, feeding soil life while keeping surfaces quiet. Water deeply but infrequently, encouraging roots to reach down and plants to stand with dignity through seasonal change. In time, the planting becomes a living fabric that records wind, rain, and light, inviting you to slow down and listen. Movement in a wabi-sabi garden is slow not because we restrain it, but because the path suggests patience. Lay stepping stones with irregular intervals so the rhythm feels human, guided by the body's reach and the terrain's gentle insistence. Allow the path to narrow near a view and widen near a bench, using proportion to cue a pause without signage or speech. Negative space becomes the garden's lung, an open patch of raked gravel, a clearing of moss, or a quiet pocket of shade that resets the senses. Resist the urge to decorate every surface. Emptiness is a presence that frames sound, light, and breath. Curves should be soft and legible, like ink brushed in a single stroke, revealing a glimpse of what's ahead, yet keeping some mystery intact. Borders are best suggested rather than enforced, perhaps a low drift of grasses or a line of stones set flush with the soil. Where paths intersect, lower the energy with a flat stone or a modest lantern, giving travelers a center before they choose direction. Use height sparingly, allowing the eye to settle low, where textures and small changes feel intimate and grounding. Materials should transition gradually, gravel to stepping stone to moss, so the foot understands the shift before the mind comments. The path is not only a route but a metronome, setting the tempo for seeing and inviting the visitor to align with the garden's slower heartbeat. When you finish laying the stones, walk the route at dawn and again at dusk, letting light confirm the pacing you designed. Wabi-Sabi welcomes objects with stories, especially those that show their years without apology. A rust-kissed trowel, a cracked tea bowl, a wooden ladder bleached by sun can each become small altars to time. Place them as accents rather than trophies, letting them tuck into foliage, sit beside stones, or lean lightly against a wall. Patina is not dirt, it is memory, and your role is to curate without polishing away the chapter headings. A clay jar with salt blooms near a tap can hold a few bamboo stems, while a weathered bell can hang from a branch to mark wind in a single low note. Driftwood, river stones, or broken roof tiles can edge beds, their irregular shapes guiding the eye with a soft cadence. If you gather objects, choose fewer than you think you need, and group them thoughtfully so the narrative remains coherent. Balance man-made and natural, letting each enhance the other like dialogue rather than a monologue. Keep colors subdued and surfaces matte, trusting shadow to do the embellishing. When an object feels too insistent, move it slightly or give it more space so it can breathe again. The goal is not staging, but companionship, as if the garden invited these pieces to rest here for a while. Over seasons, moss may find them, metal may deepen in tone, and wood will continue its quiet fade, each change stitching the object more deeply into place. Care in a wabi-sabi garden is a practice of attention rather than control, a rhythm that respects growth and decay as equal teachers. Begin with sweeping, a daily or weekly brushing of leaves that guides them into soft drifts rather than chasing them away entirely. Rake gravel slowly, letting the tool draw quiet patterns that hold until rain rewrites them, a collaboration with weather that never needs to be perfect. Trim selectively, removing only what confuses the plant's form, leaving a hint of wildness that keeps the garden alive. Water with intention, long and measured, so roots reach deep and soil life thrives unseen. Clean stone and wood only when necessary, preserving lichens, silvering, and mineral traces that record the seasons. Replace breakage with gratitude, mending a pot with gold epoxy or repurposing shards as mulch, practicing repair as design rather than erasure. Sit often, noticing subtle shifts in sound and shadow, letting maintenance follow observation rather than a calendar. Accept that some areas will rest, some will flourish, and some will puzzle you, and let that variety be the garden's personality. Keep tools simple, sharp, and visible so care feels easy to begin and easy to end. End each session by returning one thing to simplicity, perhaps clearing a single stone or smoothing a step, so the garden always offers a small welcome. Over years, these rituals shape character more deeply than any weekend overhaul, and the garden becomes a companion rather than a project. Thank you for walking slowly with me through the Wabi-Sabi garden, where imperfect edges and patient materials teach a softer way to see. If you felt your shoulders drop and your breath deepen, that is the garden doing its best work, asking nothing and offering calm. We welcomed weathered stone, silvered wood, and porous clay, and we learned to draw paths that move at the pace of attention. We planted for serenity with moss and grasses, choosing native greens that knit resilience into beauty. We let patina and found objects speak in a quiet voice, adding soul without spectacle, and we practiced care as ritual rather than repair. What emerges is not a picture to finish, but a relationship to tend, one that grows richer as the seasons write their honest marks. When you step outside tomorrow, notice what already belongs, and make one small move that invites time to collaborate. Then let the wind, the rain, and the light finish the sentence in ways you could not have planned. If this journey resonated, please subscribe, like this video, and leave a comment sharing one imperfect detail you now see as beautiful. Your presence shapes this community as surely as moss shapes stone, and your stories help others trust the slow path. Until our next visit, may your garden be a refuge, your materials be humble, and your heart be at ease with the grace of things unfinished.